Welcome back to Talk Solent, the programme where we discuss the biggest news stories of our local patch and some national ones too. I'm Jonathan Hines and we have 8 articles this evening for discussion. Joining me this evening is Becki Houlston, a renowned life coach from Dorset, who specialises in stress and anxiety. The island now, and robots battled for top prizes at the King Lud in Ryde on Friday evening. It's the first anniversary of the island's scrapbot battles. The quirky event, organised by island magician Huxley, saw robots and their creators participating in crazy challenges for trophies. Meanwhile, keeping with robot news, one of Google's self-driving driverless cars has collided with a bus in California a few weeks ago. So we're asking, can robots only ever do a limited amount, and do we credit them with too much intelligence? Becki, what do you think?
Well, I think it's very interesting because when I was reading that story, the collision, the details of the collision are that the Google car was having to avoid some sandbags, and the Google car was anticipating that a bus would yield. Now that's where the human experience versus the robot experience goes wrong, because anyone who's driven as a human on the road will know a bus never yields.
A bit like a cyclist.
And when they do yield, you have that sort of awkward moment where, really? You're going to let me out? And you're not sure if you do come out, if the bus is then going to go, not really. But so that was the details. So, and the conclusion that they came to was that in their algorithms and the programming that they put in, they had not allowed the car to not expect the bus to yield. The car's expectation was that the bus was going to yield. And I think that just highlights the complexity of human decision making, because that's the Google car relating to a bus, but the bus is being driven by a human being who at any point is having a bad day, or has just had a row with someone, or is just in a very tranquil, I'm going to drive slow mode today. So, how do you put the human variables of emotion, which is what we do. As soon as we get in a car, our whole worlds come into that car with us.
Yes.
If we're a control freak, we'd probably be driving, not a passenger. But I think it will be very interesting to see how that unfolds. I can remember quite some years ago being fortunate enough to go to the BMW Centre for Excellence, where they had a lot of their technology which is now coming out on test drive, and I watched a car self-parking, and there was something quite odd about watching a car on its own self-parking. So how does that, when if everybody's driving a Google car, then they're all communicating with each other, but you only have to have one human being on the road, and who knows what they're going to do at any given moment. Kids in the back, whatever's going on, you just can't. How do you anticipate that without actually putting human sensors on the drivers?
So should we all have Google cars then, to make the roads safer? Do you think they would be safer?
Safer to a point. Safer till the technology goes wrong, which we've all experienced technology going wrong, and the more and more we hand over to the technology, the more helpless we become. We
get so frustrated with computers, don't we? But computers only do what they've been programmed to do. And it's interesting. You talked about we have emotions. We can't create emotions in a computer. We can't create yet. Interesting. Self-awareness, for example, in a computer, it literally does what it's supposed to do.
Compassion. No, do you know what? You come out. How many of us have had a moment in our day where, it's all gone a bit wrong, and yet the kindness of another driver letting you out and giving you a big smile can just let you feel like you matter for a minute.
That's right.
So I think we'd lose that. But, would the roads be safer? Yeah, that would be a good win if that was going to be the case. But also, it ruins backseat driving for us all.
So theoretically, it would be a bizarre experience to see it. But, you would think you were seeing things or hallucinating. But that car could actually travel around the roads with nobody in it, in theory. Imagine if you saw a car going along the road with no one in it.
Absolutely, and I also think for people with disabilities, for people as they get older and lose confidence in their driving, I think there's many benefits for them from having a Google powered car. But I'm not sure I'm not sure, there's vulnerabilities with that, pros and cons, but I think we're a way off yet before the cars actually engage with other drivers' emotional experience.
That's a very interesting point you've brought up there, and with technology generally, I've just suddenly thought about self-service checkouts. I actually think they're a dreadful, horrible thing. And actually really bad. We didn't need them. We didn't have them 10 years ago, but now they're suddenly deemed to be this wonderful thing. I only use those self-service checkouts if I'm genuinely in a hurry.
And then
otherwise, I use a human being.
And sometimes it's not a faster experience, is it?
No.
Sometimes
there's always someone there to man them, isn't there?
It is, and what size avocado is this? It's find the picture. So sometimes it's not a faster experience, and I think we're in danger of replacing human connection with efficiency. And I'm all up for efficiency. I'm all up for increasing productivity, making life easier, not at cost to human connection. And I think that what we're not recognising is when do we actually isolate people further, and when is part of the shopping experience actually saying hello. We can all remember as kids, perhaps, if you grew up in a village or a town, having, knowing the local sweet shop owner and the excitement of going in and them knowing your name.
And what I think is worrying and quite tragic is how some people actually glorify these, for example, self-service checkout machines, and put them on a higher plane, as if they're preferable, as if they're wonderful, as if they're better than dealing with a human being. And that's really sad. And I think we didn't even have them 10 years ago.
And lessons need to be learned from when all the banks shipped all their call centres to other cultures and in some ways computers. You had to be on the phone dialing numbers to a computer for a good 20 minutes when, unfortunately, if your inquiry didn't fit their categories, you had to wait, you had a lot of music on hold to get through.
The other day, I was on the phone to, I forget which company it was, and I spoke, the line, it was a good line, and I spoke the department I wanted very clearly. It was the hospital, actually. So which department, which ward do you want? And I actually said, acute admissions. Just like that. Could it be any clearer? And 3 times she said, "I'm sorry, I didn't get that." And maybe that was just a fluke. Maybe it was just
it's computer humour. It's computer humour. They get bored too.
It was just having a bad moment.
It was. I thought, do you know what? I've just been saying the same thing all day. I can do more than this.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And it is funny, but there's so much of it now.
But at what cost? That's my great concern. Is at what cost are we actually isolating people? We're the most isolated community, isolated generation, and the cost to mental health, which is something I'm passionate about, will only be measured in the next 15, 20 years. The impact of that on anxiety, on stress levels, on broken communities, broken homes. We need each other, and we need to recognise that and build a platform that works with that too.
Yeah, my attitude, again, and I'm going back to the self-service checkouts again, I would only use them if I was genuinely in a mad dash, and I did have to be somewhere, and I could cause problems if I didn't get somewhere quickly. Otherwise, I will deal with a human being. This morning at the bank, on the way here this morning, I used the self-service stuff at the bank, literally because I was in a hurry to get here, and so I felt justified. Otherwise, I'll deal with a human being.
Me too.
Now, Hampshire Constabulary could be about to appoint the first female to the role of Chief Constable. Olivia Pinkney, currently of Sussex Police, has vast experience and could well be the next to be appointed to the top. Now, we're asking, is it sad that in 2016, Becki, a woman attaining this position is not the norm, and that it's taken this long to get to a point where a woman can get to this position? There's a picture of Olivia Pinkney there. Now, the fact that she's the first woman in 2016, do you think that's shocking, that it's even mentioned in the first few lines of the article?
The fact that it's a headline seems not relative to what the real world is like. For, certainly for the up and coming teens, You know, they have a very different relationship with male and female. The fact that a headline is that a woman has taken on a top role. Now, I'm all up for recognition, all up for celebrating, but the fact that she's a woman, I think takes away from the fact that she was the most qualified for the job. And I think that, you know, that's actually what it's about, that her skills were the right fit for the job.
And, you know, I mean, on average, most people recognise or admit that, you know, on average, men, should we say, are normally more men are physically stronger than women. But with this position, does it matter if it's a man or a woman? Because she's not on the front line; she's in a managerial position. So the fact that she's a woman is irrelevant, isn't it?
It seems in relative to my world, it seems somewhat out of date. You know, it seems like somebody from the 1970s has drummed up that headline. And in actual fact, you know, why whoever is best for the job is right for the job. And I think, you know, as we move forward in the future, it will become less about a woman or a man. It will become more about feminine energy and masculine energy, and actually what is it that's required to get the job done.
Yes, so you'll have to tell us more about that after the break, because we're going to have more controversial stuff after the break. And if you have controversial things that we should be talking about, or then do contact us on our email. That's talk@thatsolent.com. Back with you again very shortly.